Uh, Hello, students. Good evening and warm welcome to Trunkie Academy. Um, so, like past week, we have studied the different topics. Okay, from the first chapter. Okay. Now we are studying about the different physiological system, and with regard to that, we studied about the digestive system, respiration, etc. Okay. Now today we will study about the we have also studied about the circulatory system and different types of blood vessels and all. So today we will study about the another topic, which is the transportation in plants. Okay. So like we studied in transportation in animals, like in human beings, how the circulatory system is functioning to transport the different substances with the help of blood. In case of plant, how this is achieved, what is the mechanism of transportation in case of plants. Okay, so we study in the about the transportation in plants. Transportation in plants. Okay, so first we will see the definition. Now before I will start the definition, just try to understand it. This transportation process, whether it is animal or plants, it is very important. In case of animals, we know that there are certain mechanism and how the hormones secreted by endocrine glands are transported by blood, how the oxygen respiratory gases is transported by blood. Okay, the digested food that is absorbed in the small intestine is transported by the blood. Okay, so all these things are transported. And now in case of plants, the water, which is very very important and essential for normal functioning, growth and development of plant body, that is absorbed from the soil with the help of roots. And after it is absorbed, it goes to different parts of the plant body, and this is achieved by the xylem tissue, which is called vascular tissue. Okay, now that first definition will start. Okay. Because we know that in case of, sorry, right, transportation is a vital process. This is the definition. Transportation is the vital process vital process in plant, because without transportation, like water and minerals, okay, along with the water, mineral is also transported, which is very very important for the normal functioning of the plant body and synthesis of different substances in plants. Okay, trees transport all the nutrients, all the nutrients and water it needs for survival from its roots to the tip of the leaves. Now, like in case of, like in blood, in case of animals, we in the plants have got water that acting as transporting medium. Okay, blood is transporting medium in our body, so water is the transporting medium in the in case of plants. Okay, along with the plants, when water is when along with the water, mineral is also absorbed. When water is absorbed from the soil, dissolved minerals are also absorbed. Okay, and the tall trees, okay, they are they have got specialized conducting tissue called vascular tissue, xylem and phloem, and with the help of this, okay, they are able to transport to the tip of the leaves. Okay, so this transportation process is very vital because uh, all the reactions like to synthesize food, the process of photosynthesis, and other biochemical reaction or metabolic reaction that is taking place in the plant body is possible with in presence of water only. So water is vital process. Okay, not only in case of plants but also in case of animals. Now, okay, so in case of plant, the transportation occurs at three levels. Transportation in plants, transportation in plants occurs in three levels. In three levels. Okay, what are that those? Number one is the transportation of substances. Transportation of substances from one cell to another. From one cell to another. Okay, that means cell to cell communication, one cell to another cell. Okay, then only, okay, because if we are in case in our body also, okay, the blood is reaching to the different tissue. Okay, so different stages. First it will go to the oxygenated blood, like we have discussed in previous classes. Oxygenated blood will be carried by the arteries, and artery, then it goes to the arterioles, the branch of the arteries, then it is goes to the capillaries, then capillaries is delivering it to the tissues, isn't it, step by step. Here also, first the water is transferred from one cell to another, cell to cell, then long distance transport, then another is the long distance transport, long distance transport, long distance transport of sap within phloem and xylem. Within phloem and xylem. Now what happens when we say cell to cell? That means the adjacent cell. The water molecule is transferred from one cell to another. That is maybe diffusion, osmosis, etc. But when we said long distance, means it is from being transferred from tube-like structure, that is xylem or phloem. Okay, so for long distance, okay, if there is a vascular tissue or tube-like structure, or you can say specialized tissue for the conduction of water and minerals, or sap. And what is sap? SAP, sap. It is the water with dissolved minerals. Sap is the water with dissolved minerals. Okay, so cell sap or sap, it is the sap is the water plus dissolved minerals, plus dissolved minerals. Okay, these things sometimes seems very easy, but many students they forget and they fail to answer questions related with this. Okay, so try to understand step by step. The third one, okay, the release and uptake of solute, the release and uptake of solute. The if you study, I know from today I'm studying very step by step in depth. So if you study and you listen carefully and try to understand, okay, each and every point, okay, I'm going to point wise step by step. So it will make your concept very clear, and nothing will be left from the NCRT, and it will be very very easy to answer any question that will be asked on these topics. Okay, so the release and uptake of solute and water by individual cells, by individual cells, by individual. Okay, so these are the three stages, you can say, or levels in which the transportation takes place in plants. One is the adjacent cell, from one cell to another cell. Okay, there is also transportation, because from one cell to another cell, again the one that is present adjacent to the second one, it will, the water will move to the third one, and from third one to fourth one to fifth one. In this way it will form a continuous chain. Okay, now second is the long distance one, because you know that there are so lofty trees, tall trees. Okay, the water is absorbed from the roots, and it can reach up to the tip of the leaves at the upper region of the plant. That is because there are the special kind of tissue, conducting tissue, xylem and phloem, which conducts the water plus dissolved mineral, that is sap. Okay, and release and uptake of solute and water. What happens? You know that you must have studied, I think, in class 9 about the osmosis or the diffusion process. Okay, from higher concentration to lower concentration. In case of the gases, from higher concentration to lower concentration, okay, it will automatically try to move, and this happens like when you keep one chamber like this, okay, a glass vessel, and you separate that glass vessel completely, okay, into two chambers by a semi-permeable membrane, partly semi-permeable, okay, partly selectively permeable or semi-permeable. So what will happen? And on both the sides you keep the water level, okay, same, okay, and you mix here Na plus sodium chloride molecules 1, 2, 3 like this, okay, and here it will be, there will be no sodium chloride. What will happen? The sodium chloride ion will move through the on this side, okay, because here is no low concentration, is very low, rather it is not at all. So what will happen? The sodium chloride will move from the higher concentration to lower concentration until an equilibrium is achieved. Okay, so this kind of movement is called semi-permeable movement, as the osmosis through a semi-permeable membrane. So this kind of movement is the osmosis, which we find in roots, and osmosis is the process by which the roots are able to absorb water from the soil. So what will happen? There are solutes. This NaCl is the solute. Okay, when I am talking about the NaCl mixed in the water, and which is high in concentration on this side and very low in concentration on this side. So what will happen? From higher concentration to lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane it will move. Okay, and this is the osmosis, that the process by which the plants are able to absorb the water molecules or sap from the soils. Okay, so it is not only the water, there is minerals also. So that minerals form the solute. Okay, so release and uptake of solute and water by individual cells, that is a regular phenomenon in case of the water plant tissues. Okay, so plant tissue, they sometimes, depending on the situation, there is the release of water or release of solute to change the concentration. So this happens in plant for the transportation. The first one is the transportation from one cell to another. Second is the long distance transport through the conducting tissue called xylem and phloem, and third is the uptake and release of the solute and water by individual cells. Okay. Now what happens? There are some process, like I told you, when you burn one incense stick, okay, the smoke will come, and there is some kind of fragrance, and that will slowly mix in the air, okay, from argon, because the smoke that is coming from that incense stick, so that will slowly mix in the air in surrounding. Okay, so that is diffusion from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, so this is the kind of passive transport, okay, where energy is not required. When there is the movement of NaCl molecule in the diagram that I have drawn from higher concentration to lower concentration, because it is automatically moving from higher concentration to lower concentration, so there is no requirement of energy. It is being possible passively, okay, and no energy is required in this kind of transport. So this kind of transport is called passive transport. Okay, so what will happen, we'll write the passive so, and another type is the active transport, where we find that in the transportation, okay, some energy is required, and this transportation in active transport, the movement of molecule is against the concentration gradient. Here in case of the um, passive transport, the movement of the molecule is along the concentration gradient. That means from higher concentration to lower concentration, along the concentration gradient. But in case of active transport, it is just opposite, from lower concentration to higher concentration, in opposite direction. So energy is required for that, and that is called active transport. Okay, so first we'll write the passive transport, and then we'll write active transport. Passive transport. Okay, so this is important for exam. Passive transport. Passive transport. The rate of absorption is fast. Yes, obviously, because it is without the involvement of energy. The rate of absorption is fast. Okay, it occurs rapidly in transporting plant. Transporting plants, and the movement of water the rate of absorption is significantly depends upon rate of transpiration. Okay, in plants what happens, there is a special kind of process, okay, or like we can say whether it is advantageous or disadvantageous. It is very difficult to say, because it is advantageous also from other point of view, it is disadvantageous also. The transpiration, the process of transpiration, the water is lost from the aerial part of the plant in the form of water vapor. So as the water molecules are lost from the aerial part of the plant body, okay, so that creates a vacuum, okay, the lag, and then the water is moved up. So when the transpiration is occurring continuously, so there is continuous absorption of water. When the transpiration is not occurring, when the weather is quite humid, okay, and the air is not, wind is not blowing, okay, and there is very less or no transpiration, so what will happen, the water is not lost, and that will cause the very less absorption of water from the roots. So absorption is indirectly or directly, it's dependent on the transpiration. Okay, so this is the reason it says that significantly depends on the rate of transpiration. When the transpiration is high, it is being dried, the water will be absorbed. As soon as it dries, the new water column will rise up. Okay, so that is the passive transport. Now this is the point which I am going to write, is very important for exam. The force required for the absorption, the force required for the absorption the force required for the absorption of water is mainly generated in the mesophyll cells. Mesophyll cells or the mesophyll tissue are a kind of tissue which are found in the uh, leaves, okay, where we find the photosynthesis is going on, okay. So this mesophyll tissue is found in the leaves, and the force required for the absorption that is mainly generated in the mesophyll cells, okay. So this was about the passive transport, and in case of where the water molecules or the water along with the dissolved minerals is moving from higher concentration to lower concentration. Now they come into the active transport. Active transport, and I told you that it requires energy for the transport, active transport. Water moves against the concentration gradient. Okay, that is in opposite direction. That means from lower concentration to higher concentration. Okay. Rate of absorption is slow because energy is required. The rate of absorption is slow because it occurs at the expense of energy. Okay. And about the force, that means water moves against the concentration gradient, that means from lower concentration to higher concentration, and the absorption rate is slow as compared to passive transport, because in passive transport there are high concentration of molecules are moving passively to the lower concentration, and the rate of transport is high, or rate of movement is very high. In case of active transport, for each molecules to move or the molecules to move, energy is required, okay. So at that time, so the process or the absorption or transport process will be slower than the passive transport because it requires energy. Now the force, okay, it comprises of osmotic and non-osmotic forces. It comprises of osmotic and non-osmotic forces. Non-osmotic forces. I told you about the osmosis, okay. We know that the plasma membrane or cell membrane of the cell are selectively permeable, or you can say the semi-permeable, and when the root hairs, the cells of the root hairs, when they absorb the water from the soil, the plasma membrane acts as the semi-permeable membrane, and the process of osmosis takes place. With the help of this process, the water is absorbed into the root hair cells, okay. So this process is the osmosis, and there is the osmotic pressure or osmotic force, okay. So because in the liquid, when there is a concentration, when it is separated by a semi-permeable membrane, and the molecules, the solid molecule that is dissolved in one side, and this side is has no solid molecules, what will happen? The molecule will tend to move to the side where there is less concentration or no solid molecules are present. So this kind of force that tends to move, this is the osmotic pressure. Okay, so this kind of osmotic pressure or none other other forces are involved in case of active transport. Okay, so osmotic and non-osmotic forces. Now, now another important thing and interesting for the plant is that uh, that the two tissues, xylem and phloem, they are involved in continuous uh, transportation of substances. Xylem are involved in the transportation of sap or water with dissolved minerals. Phloem is involved in the transportation of the manufactured food. Okay, so we'll see this xylem and phloem, the role of xylem and phloem in transportation in plants. Okay, xylem first is a long non-living tube. Okay, is long non-living tube. So made of non-living tissue. Okay, non-living tube-like structure, tube running from the roots to the leaves. Running from the roots to the leaves. Through steam. Okay. So water is absorbed by the root hairs and undergo cell to cell movement. This is an important point because what happens, many students they think that how this is possible that so tall trees, okay, the water is absorbed from the soil and how it reaches to the top of the plant body. That is because there is a adjacent, the cells are arranged side by side. What will happen when water is absorbed from the root hair cells of the roots from the soil, so that water molecule will pass on the water molecule to another cell, and then that cell will again pass on to adjacent cell, and the next cell. In this way, the water molecule will be passed on to the next cell continuously, one by one, and then it goes to the all the different parts of the plant body. So in case of xylem also it happens. Okay, they keep on passing. Okay, and since they are it is branched into the different parts, and it goes to the different branches and then the leaves. So all the different parts of the plant body, they get the cell sap or the water dissolved with minerals. Okay, so this is an important point, as I told you, but write this point. The water is observed by the root hairs. By the root hairs. And undergoes cell to cell and undergoes cell to cell movement. Okay, so this is the important point. It undergoes a cell to cell movement by osmosis. This is the osmotic pressure. Osmosis is the process by which water is, I told you, by osmosis. This is the very important process. This is the process by which water plants are able to absorb the water. Okay, osmosis, by the process of osmosis. Okay, and then so this water, once the water is absorbed like this, for example, this is the root and this is the branch of the roots. Okay, I will draw the diagram. Okay, this is the main root and this is the branch, and the root hairs are present. Okay, so if the root hairs will absorb, this is the soil, here is the soil. Okay, if root hair cells will absorb, I'll show you in enlarged form. If this is the root hair cells, one cell, and there is the one adjacent cell in the root hair. If water is absorbed from the soil, H2O is absorbed from the soil, it will be passed on to another adjacent next cell. Okay, and then it will move to the another cell. Okay, H2O. So in this way, it will go to the xylem, and once it reaches the xylem, then xylem will carry to different parts of the plant body. In this, remember this. First, there is the absorption by osmosis into the root hair cells, and once this is the first cell that is in contact with the soil and with the water, that will absorb the water molecule by the process of osmosis. Then it will move to the adjacent cell, and from that adjacent to the another adjacent cell, and in this way it will go till it reaches the xylem tissue, okay, or xylem conducting tube, and then the xylem will transport to the different parts of the plant body. Okay, so all right, please try to understand and write this point is important, because this water then water then it water is then is then transported through xylem vessels through xylem vessels, okay, to the leaves. Now this is the process. This is how the xylem play important role, because the function of the root hair cells is to only absorb or not to and pass it pass on to the xylem vessels or xylem tissue. Okay. Now the phloem. Okay. When we talk about the transportation, it's not only the transportation of water and minerals. It's also the transportation of the other substances or manufactured food also. So phloem is responsible for translocation of nutrients, or another specific term is given to this transportation of the manufactured food, that is translocation. So translocation of nutrients. Okay, nutrients and sugars like carbohydrates, okay, the manufactured food. Whatever the synthesized product by photosynthesis are there, that is also transported by phloem tissue. Okay, so carbohydrates, you can see produced during photosynthesis. Produced during photosynthesis. Okay. So this is the now when you have when you study about the, or when you already study about the phloem tissue, you know that there are some pores, okay, that is called sieve pores. The pores are there, okay, the holes are there on the surface of this phloem, that is called sieve, and they are called sieve plates. Sieve plates are present on phloem tissue. Okay, so this was about the your xylem and phloem, okay, and its involvement. Now, by what was the name? Like I was talking about the how a root is absorbing the water from the soil, okay, how this plasma membrane acts, you know, the cell membrane acts as a semi-permeable membrane, and the process of osmosis takes place, and then it is ultimately goes to the xylem tissue, and then from xylem tissue it is transported to different parts of the plant body. Now the means of transportation, different process, okay, this physical and the process by which the transportation takes place are the three different means. So means of transport in plant. means of transport in plant. Transport in plants. Okay. So number one will be your diffusion. Simple diffusion. Okay. Diffusion is also the movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay. Simple diffusion. Number two will be the facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. That means where there is some kind of channel will be there, some kind of specialized structure will be there for the movement of molecules. Okay. And number three will be the active transport. So we will see one by one. Active transport. Okay. So first we'll start with the diffusion. What is diffusion? And how is this involved in the transportation of substances in plants? It is a transportation process that involves. It is a transportation process that involves the passive movement. It involves the passive movement of a substance. Movement of a substance from cell to cell. From cell to cell, or from one part of the cell, one plant, or from one plant part to another plant part to the cell. Okay. So diffusion is normally, like I have told you that in osmosis, when there is semiconductor, the molecules will move from higher concentration to lower concentration. In case of diffusion also, it is the movement of molecule from higher concentration to lower concentration. It occurs from one cell to another. Okay. Like we know that the exchange of gas, the minute pores that is present on the surface of the leaves. Okay. When air strikes, okay, the diffusion of exchange of gases takes place in the leaves through stomata. Okay, the oxygen is given out during the photosynthesis, and carbon dioxide is taken in. Okay, so that is by the process of diffusion. Okay, so this is the process where we find that there is a passive movement from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, and it does not no energy is required. No energy is required because this is a passive movement. No energy is required. Okay, energy is required in active transport. Okay. Okay. Now substance move from higher concentration to lower concentration. Substance, molecules moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, to lower concentration. Molecules or substance that moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. Simple diffusion. Okay, so no energy is required. Okay. This mode of transport is found in case of gases, not in liquid. Okay, so this means of transport in plants is found for transport of gaseous substance. Okay, gaseous substance. Okay. Diffusion is indeed a process which is with regard to movement of molecules of gases, not liquid. Okay, so it moves from the higher concentration to lower concentration. And another important but for this diffusion is that the rate of diffusion depends on the temperature on what is the temperature, pressure. First one is the temperature. Yes, the temperature is more, then there will be the diffusion rate will be higher. Temperature, then the pressure also. Okay, atmospheric pressure or other, then and the mainly is the concentration gradient. Main is the concentration gradient. The other two factors are the temperature and pressure. Okay, so in case of facilitated diffusion, okay, what will happen? There are some kind of channels. Okay, there are some kind of channels like this in the plasma membrane. If you see the plasma membrane, okay, this is the plasma membrane. Okay, this is the cell membrane of the phospholipid, and there are some kind of channels are present. Okay, proteinaceous channel. Okay, so these channels are present, and through which, for example, if this is again the plasma membrane, okay, this is a structure. Are you getting my point? These are the plasma membrane layer. Okay, and in the plasma membrane layer, there is some protein called channels. Okay, and there are three types of channel: uniport, then symport, and antiport. Okay, means this channel. For example, this is a cell, and here in this plasma membrane, there are some kind of protein that is allowing the movement. Like this is enlarged view. Okay, so if this proteinaceous channel and the protein which forms a channel in the plasma membrane for the movement of molecules. Okay, there are three types: uniport, symport, and antiport. Uniport means the only one kind of molecule move from one side to another side. In case of symport, one molecule move and same molecule will be moving from the other side also. And in case of antiport, okay, the molecule move at the expense at the condition when other type of molecule is moving outside. So one molecule, for example, if sodium is going in, then chlorine will come out. So in this is called antiport, just opposite. So one molecule is moving, so another kind of molecule is moving out. So one kind of molecule is moving out, then other kind of molecule move in. Okay, so that kind of is called antiport. Okay, this is the kind of movement that we find in case of the antiport and symport. The channels, that is the protein channels, or that present innervates the plasma membrane. Present in the plasma membrane, some are antiport, some are symport, and some are antiport. Okay. Now another point is that the transportation, as a transpiration. Transpiration is the process. It is also called necessary evil. Okay. It has got both advantage and disadvantage for plants. Advantage is that it will keep the water pulling from the soil, from the roots. Okay, and disadvantage is that lots of energy is expended in transpiration. Okay, and lots of water is lost from the aerial part of the plant body in the form of vapor. So only 2% water that is absorbed from the soil is actually utilized for the metabolic reaction or photosynthesis, and the rest 98% are lost in the form of water from the aerial part of the body in the form of water vapor. Okay, in the water vapor. So that is transpiration. So it is called necessary evil. It is necessary also because if it does not occur, then how it will continue the continuity of the water column or water that movement. Okay. So that is the reason. So it depends on the different. The force are called force of surface tension, then potential water potential gradient, and there is the capillary action. So these are the force that is involved in case of transit. So this is just you know the names. Okay. The four surface tension force, surface tension. This is the force on which, okay, the a liquid can with the help of surface tension can move. Water potential gradient we will study in the, I'll tell in the next class. And another is the force of hydrogen bonding between water molecule. Force of hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding. Okay. So these are the force that enhances the or causes the helps in the movement of water during transpirations. Okay. So tomorrow again we will meet at the same time. Okay, with a we have to study after this. Okay. And as I have already told you, again I am repeating the same thing, that I will send you the DPP. Okay. And you will you go to your academic booster, so you will find there is a link called resources. You click on that, then you will find the writing material, and after clicking on writing material you will get the list of DPP sent by us. You click on the topic that we have studied today and download and write the answer. Go through the questions and write the answer, and taking the photograph you send back to us, and we will check and then we'll send you the remarks. Okay. So thank you for joining. Okay. And we will meet again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you very much. Bye. And now you can leave. Thank you.